Something Randolph County hasn't seen in a very long time.
This is the first new paved road in Randolph County in 14 years.
Did it seem initially like the impossible mission?
Every burp we hit in the road increased the price where we wondered if we could make it. In the end, 100 houses, and we were able to get about 60 of them to contribute.
Road heroes recognized, names posted for all to see. A road built by people who live on it.
This is really old.
So 3 years after that first sign, over $400,000 raised.
Notice all that money laying on the ground here?
Miles of red tape.
The pride that has come along with the road, people are exclaiming to their neighbors how happy they are.
County Road 256 is smoother and quieter, but more than that, it's proof.
We got it done.
In a county with a near 1,000 miles of dirt roads, this one didn't wait its turn. It found its people, and they paved the way. I'm Brittany Decker for NBC News Now.
Brittany Decker, thanks so much for that. That's going to do it for us tonight. I'm Gotti Schwartz. We'll see you here tomorrow. But until then, stay tuned to NBC News Now. Brittany Decker, thank you. That's going to do it for us tonight. I'm Gotti Schwartz. We'll see you here tomorrow. But until then, stay tuned to NBC News Now. Okay. All right. You know what that means. That means that we are going to sneak out of here a little bit early. But now you just saw the end of our show before the beginning of our show. What? Happy birthday. Hi. Happy birthday. A stream on the day the Earth revolved around the sun and brought you into this universe. Fantastic. So glad you're here. Yeah, happy birthday. Summer babies are the best. William, can you hear me now? And that's the show. You still with your cold? Yep, still with my cold. Colt Smith. Yes, we do. We do care. We care about birthdays here. We definitely care. Suzanne, hello. How are you? Hey Day applies to all except SML. Wait, hold on. Hey Day, test. We're all friends, right? Not in New York. I'm in Los Angeles. And yeah, it's too sunny for people to be sick here, and yet here I am. Hello from Columbia, South Carolina. 48 boys, what's up? Hello, South Carolina. All right, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. But you know what I want to talk about? All I want to talk about is space. But Lisa's only giving me 4 minutes and 35 seconds.
That is so mean of you. Actually, it might be less. It might even be less than that. I don't know.
It's an ongoing concern, sir. Talk about that for briefly if we can.
Well, the only thing I get a little solace from is they say only consequential presidents. And I am definitely consequential.
Now let's get out to NBC News Chief White House Correspondent Garrett Haake. And Garrett, first off, this suspect, what else have they learned about him?
Well, Gotti, hasn't it a idea of winning the AI race with China? Those are some of the lenses through which he sees this issue, but clearly going to be outspoken on one side of that debate going forward.
Ask him during a commercial break. Sometimes I'll see him and I'll be able to ask the correspondents that we're talking to. So, yeah, It's,
And let's bring in Shaquille Brewster, who's been following this for Michigan tonight. Shaquille, El Sayed follows a string of progressive wins over established candidates around the country. What is this going to
here at home? He believes that will connect with voters in the middle, including some who voted for.
Nice. Los Angeles local. What part of Los Angeles? Any alien news? Not yet, William. Not yet, unfortunately. I'm so sorry, guys. This cough is trying to get it all out before the show actually starts. I ask you a question. Steve Kornacki spills water on set. Hope not.
As the campaign against us might have been, I want us to realize that there is so much more that unites us now.
Alora, news on Elon hitting the moon. I'm so glad you brought that up. Yes, we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about SpaceX upper stage of their Falcon 9 rocket, which is kind of a smaller part, 8,000 pounds. It hit the moon at like 5,600 miles an hour, 7 times the speed of sound. It's like Mach 7. We don't know exactly what it did because we didn't have a really good view of it, but scientists, astronomers all over the world are very, very interested because, you know, a lot of people are talking about, oh, litter on the moon.
He took a video of himself.
That's important.
And video chatted with
him
standing in front of our home.
Have.
Seen it
But
there, and he was like,
I
your
think
block is fine.
The more pressing
although everything else
impact, pun intended,
he said it just looks like a freaking bomb blew up back
science
there.
and what this is going to tell us about
I don't know what
regolith ejecta. What is it, regolith ejecta? Oh, so glad you asked. Regolith is moon dust, and it is a pain in the ass for astronauts, for NASA, for the Apollo missions. It is electrostatically charged, so it clings to everything. It's very, very sharp, very abrasive. Cuts, protective shielding. It does horrible things to tools. If you had solar panels up there, it's going to be a mess. Anyway, when a rocket lands on the moon, especially if it's as big as Starship, or takes off from the moon, it is going to send up so much lunar dust. And because the lunar surface and the moon only has like 1/6 of Earth's gravity, when you kick up dust, it travels a very long way, like miles, like potentially 100 miles, which is what we think the impact of meteorites and this particular rocket booster may have done. And so we need to figure out the regolith ejecta situation before we start putting a bunch of colonies and bases up there. So this is going to teach them how to do that, hopefully. Gosh, I don't know if we're going to make it through this show. I know that you're going to be okay with that cough. I am. I'm going to be okay. You want to know why? Honey. Here we go. Adson. It wasn't really Elon. It was actually it was SpaceX and NASA. And it doesn't, I mean, again, it sounds like a big deal, but these things happen and they are a drop in the bucket compared to like something that size from outer space. Meteorites hit the moon every 6 days. That is happening constantly. In fact, during Artemis 2, when they were flying around the moon, they kept seeing impacts of micrometeorites, like to the point that it kind of sketched them out. So these kind of things happen. That's why the moon is just riddled with craters. But it is teaching us some very valuable science. B.7987938, sorry. Please ask Joe to grow his beard back. Joe. Which Joe? Oh, Joe Fryer. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, next time I'm in New York and I see him, I will tell him that somebody was a big fan of his beard named B-Dot. SML, using honey. Yes. Fingers crossed. You can unlimited day trade on Robin. Oh, interesting. Peace Bucks. Have you lost a lot of money on Robinhood? Maybe you need a respiratory inhaler. I do. Yeah, I need an inhaler. Let's see. I'm seeing the slate for a package. Huh? You like what?
Nebulizers here in the control room.
That's what I need. Oh, and Lisa's in full. Hello, Lisa.
Hello.
SML, there she is. Hong Kong today is Thursday. Chiron's in Hong Kong. Kornacki spilled water on his computer? It's okay. He doesn't need a computer. What do they call math geniuses? Polygots? Is it polygots? Is that right?
90.
I think that's right. Was this moving and now it's frozen? Oh. Interesting. You used to only be able to 3 times a week, now hundreds of flips a day. Interesting. Juan Aguilar with the question that we all have asked. I think we've asked that question.
1 minute. Starting B to G.
And the answer is, I think it depends. Especially, like, of the whale variety. It's a whole science class that I'll never forget. Echo, audio is off. We're adjusting it. It's going to be perfect in just about 30 seconds. We're going to dial it in. The pre-show to the show, and ducks in a row, but in 30 seconds, we'll have the full show. And B to G, okay. Have a good show, chat.
5.
Hey there, I'm Gotti Schwartz, and tonight we are following 2 separate close calls for President Trump on both sides of the country. Here on the West Coast, we're learning more about an armed man arrested at one of Trump's golf courses here in Southern California. Authorities say the suspect appeared to be scoping out security there just days before Trump was set to visit. Trump appearing to brush off concerns this way a little bit earlier.
It's an ongoing concern, sir. Talk about that for briefly, if we can.
Well, the only thing I get a little solace from is they say only consequential presidents. And I am definitely consequential.
All right. Meanwhile, over on the East Coast, the FAA says the president's helicopter Marine One with Trump on board got way too close to a commercial airliner taking off from the Reagan National Airport in Washington. Here's the plane leaving the airport. You see it right there. And here's Marine One taking off from the White House. We've got that video coming up right there. You see it? That's Marine One, just 1 minute before and a few miles away. Remember, after that deadly crash in D.C. over a year ago in the same area involving that Army helicopter and a passenger jet, there have been a bunch of heavy restrictions put on this whole entire fly zone. Now let's get out to NBC News Chief White House Correspondent Garrett Haake. And Garrett, first off, this suspect, what else have they learned about him?
Well, God, he hasn't had a first court appearance yet, so most of what we're able to piece together are things like his military service records, which paint a pretty sad story. This is someone who served for 8 years in the Marine Corps. He was deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. A law enforcement official tells NBC News that he has pretty severe PTSD and hasn't worked in some time. We don't know anything about his motive, but it doesn't seem like he was in a good place, generally speaking.
Interesting. As for Marine One, what happened there?
This is an odd story, and I think we're going to find out a lot more since there are investigations ongoing by both the FAA and the NTSB. But you see it here. That's a American Airlines flight departing from DCA. Not terribly unusual. But then a short time later, you see one of the two Marine One helicopters come into frame. Normally, when the president is airborne in DC, nothing else is. And so it's not entirely clear how this happened, where you would have a commercial airliner within about a mile, apparently, from Marine One. The FAA and the White House put out statements saying that the president was never in danger, but especially in light of that crash here in D.C. about a year and a half ago over the river, a very similar area of the city as where that helicopter was seen. I think there's going to be a lot more investigation here to figure out what exactly happened.
And meanwhile, there's a lot of talk over in Washington on whether or not the U.S. Attorney for D.C., Jeanine Pirro, might lose her post over that whole reflecting pool saga. Any word from the president about that?
Yeah, look, the balance of my reporting is that she's probably not going to lose her job, but the president is very angry, and so is Pirro. Just to reset, this came after the reflecting pool charges were dropped by Pirro's office on Friday. There was a meeting here at the White House on Monday with Pirro, with Interior Secretary Doug Burgum, whose offices are in charge of the pool. And I was told by a source today that Pirro eviscerated Burgum and had it out with President Trump about exactly what happened here behind the scenes. As of last night, the president is still pretty unhappy. Listen to this.
Well, I just think she was totally wrong. In my opinion, it was major vandalism, and I told her I was not happy.
Is she safe? Are you going to keep her in the position?
I haven't made a determination.
Now, Pirro is someone who has 30 years of history with Donald Trump. She's not someone who was hired just for this role. And so I think that affects the dynamics here, Gotti. But this is something, as you said, all of Washington is watching very closely.
Yeah, there's so much going on around the president right now. And then we saw the issue of data centers come up as well. What's the president saying about that?
The politics around this is fascinating, right? I mean, just yesterday you had Texas as reliably a red state in the country, with the governor saying they wanted to do a sort of temporary moratorium on data centers, which have become so divisive across the country. The president is making very clear what side of that debate he falls on. Listen to this.
I think any community that turns down AI is making a big mistake, because your taxes are going to go way down. If you own a house, it's going to be more valuable. Mm-hmm. It's a tremendous thing, and I see it. It's almost like there's a campaign against, data centers. Mm-hmm. But data centers, if you look at the stats, everything's good around them.
Guy, I think part of the way the president looks at this is these big AI companies, those tech companies driving the stock market forward, and also as a national security issue, the idea of winning the AI race with China. Those are some of the lenses through which he sees this issue, but clearly going to be outspoken on one side of that debate going forward.
Garrett Hake at the White House. Garrett, thank you. And now to Michigan, where one of the year's biggest Senate primaries ended with a major win for the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. Abdul El-Sayed defeated establishment-backed Congresswoman Haley Stevens in a messy and expensive primary fight. Nearly $70 million poured into that race to boost Stevens, who also had the backing of top Democratic leaders. El-Sayed talked about those tactics a little bit earlier today.
Attack ad after attack ad after attack ad after attack ad. Wall-to-wall ads. But it turns out that the commercials are the part of the television show most people don't want to watch. But right now, as bitter and as divisive and as cynical as the campaign against us might have been, I want us to realize that there is so much more that unites us now.
And now it looks like, at least on that last part, Stevens agrees. She's saying she is proud to support him against Republican Mike Rogers in November, a Trump-backed candidate. But El-Sayed wasn't the only progressive to break through in Michigan yesterday. In the 13th Congressional District, Democratic Socialist Donovan McKinney unseated the incumbent congressman. And in the state's 7th District, progressive Will Lawrence beat out two moderate Democrats. And let's bring in Shaquille Brewster, who's been following this for Michigan tonight. Shaquille, El Sayed follows a string of progressive wins over established candidates around the country. What is this going to say about where Democrats are right now?
Well, Gotti, it's still that tug of war that you're seeing play out in the Democratic Party. By no means did progressives in the party have a clean sweep when you look at the other races across last night. But let's be clear about it. This is one of the biggest wins for the progressive wing of the party. And El Sayed was able to overcome a historic spending disadvantage in this race. When you look at the money that was spent on those television ads, he also overcame the fact that you had a popular governor here, Governor Whitmer, supporting his opponent. The retiring senator whose seat he's trying to replace supported his opponent. So he was up against a lot, and the fact that he was able to knock out what was a pretty narrow victory last night, that says a lot about the progressive wing of the party that's still trying to increase their numbers and really shift the direction of this Democratic Party.
Yeah, I keep thinking about one of the interviews that Julie Sirkin had yesterday, where it was one of his supporters who was asked if Stevens won, would they support Stevens in November? And they said probably abstain. And yet today you see this conciliatory tone from Stevens towards El Sayed. Like, what's that reading like?
Yeah, and you know what's interesting about that is I've also heard comments from Stevens supporters and Stevens voters saying similar things, that El Sayed is going to have to do some work, going to have to reach out his arm to win their support in the months to come. You know, what we're seeing right now is that the Democratic Party, the leaders of the party, are doing what they can to unite. You heard that from Stevens. You mentioned the comments from her, the posts on social media. But you also heard Chuck Schumer, the Senate Minority Leader who wants to become the Senate Majority Leader, also had a call with El Sayed today. Gary Peters, Governor Whitmer, people who backed Stevens, wanted her to win very forcefully, are now going behind El Sayed and hoping that he can keep this seat in Democrats' hands. And I think that underscores why you're seeing that right now. Democrats know they need to hold on to this Michigan Senate seat if they want any real shot at being able to flip the Senate in November and win it back. That's why you're seeing the party leaders doing what they can to show, hey, we're all in this together. Let's look ahead to the general election. The big question is, will voters do the same in the weeks between now and Election Day?
Yeah, quite a bit of time to go still. We also heard from former Congressman Mike Rogers just a little bit ago. How big of a fight for that Senate seat is this going to be?
Oh, we're in for a bruising battle, Gotti. I'll tell you, this is going to be, again, one of the marquee Senate races that we are going to watch. You heard Mike Rogers out today really firing at El Sayed already, saying that this was one of the most radical picks that Democrats can make. You saw President Trump getting in on it. You saw J.D. Vance getting in on it as well. I think we have some sound from some of the comments that we've been hearing over the course of the day. I want you to listen to some of those comments now.
God forbid you're going to have President El Sayed in 3 years. We don't want him to undo all the incredible work that we've been doing when we've been taking out the fraudsters and saving the American people money.
I have never seen someone so radical, so extreme, get nominated by a political party.
I think that just previews some of the messaging to come. You've already seen a lot of ads being released on day one of what is this general election. The response that you're hearing from Democrats and El Sayed is that they believe they can excite new voters. There were a record amount of voters for August primary election here in the state of Michigan. So they believe that they have some evidence that El Sayed is bringing new voters into the fold. Something he said last night is he doesn't believe that Michigan necessarily is a purple state just because it's a state that's gone back and forth between voting for Trump and Biden. He believes that there are moderate voters who are not middle of the road, but moderate voters who want people and candidates who will impact their own lives. And El Sayed, when he advocates for Medicare for all, or abolishing ICE, or instead of sending military aid to Israel, using some of that money on projects back here at home, he believes that will connect with voters in the middle, including some who voted for Trump. We'll wait till November to see if he's right about that.
Yeah, we shall see. Shaquille Brewster in Michigan. Thanks. And today, oil prices are falling thanks to fresh optimism that the end of the war in Iran could be near, something that the president hyped up a little bit earlier.
On the Strait of Hormuz, the actives reporting that it might open as soon as tomorrow.
Could happen. Tomorrow or the next day.
Tomorrow,
a lot of progress has been made.
What?
And they called me and they said, please, let's talk. They want to talk.
So that was yesterday. He's talking about tomorrow. Tomorrow would be today. Well, joining us now is NBC News military analyst Colonel Steve Warren. Colonel, we've been watching. So far, it doesn't seem like that's happened. But if these peace talks do turn out to be true, what kind of control over the Strait of Hormuz do you see as any part of an agreement here?
Right, so what we're starting to hear from the region is that it looks like the Iranians and the Omanis will come to some sort of a deal that allows the Iranians to control shipping as it passes in one direction through the straits, and the Omanis control it as it passes through the other direction, right? So in or out. Unclear who's got control of which direction. But regardless, what we don't know yet, and what I think we have to keep an eye on, is whether or not there's going to be fees involved. If you recall, this was a line that President Trump was not willing to have the Iranians cross, demanding a fee, at least during the 60-day, which didn't last 60 days, ceasefire. There was definitely some dispute about fees. So we don't know where that's going to land. We have to absolutely keep an eye on it. What's good news is that if we get this deal done, then we could finally take the first steps towards easing tensions throughout the region.
Meanwhile, sources tell NBC that Iran was likely behind that wave of cyber attacks against the water systems that we saw in a bunch of U.S. states. Do you think that that kind of warfare that Iran could engage in is still a threat as we're in this weird, no man's land of whether we're talking or not?
Well, I think it is still a threat, and it's something that we absolutely have to continue to defend against. The Iranians have struggled on the kinetic side of the battlefield. They have not sunk any ships. They've, one or two airplanes maybe they've hit. There have been some American service members killed, but compared to the number of Iranian service members killed, there's a big difference there, right? So I think the Iranians are trying to do two things. Number one, they want the United States, the president, the government, to know that they still have some capabilities, right? They want, and this keeps them at the table. Again, to go back to what we were talking about, if this deal on the Strait of Hormuz comes to a conclusion, then we'll have to talk about everything else that's going on. There's still an American blockade of Iranian ships. There's other things that are happening in the region. And I think the Iranians are still trying to assert themselves to say, hey, we have additional cards, we know how to play them, and we're prepared to play those cards.
Yeah, and sometimes asserting themselves by saying we're not talking when they possibly are. Always a very confusing situation, and we really appreciate you illuminating this for us. Colonel Steve Warren, thank you. Tonight, a glimmer of hope in Spokane, Washington, where crews are making progress against the devastating wildfires that have been raging across the state. Hundreds of homes so far have been destroyed, forcing tens of thousands to evacuate. But now firefighters are facing a new threat, and that is the rising heat and dry conditions that are once again fueling flames. We know one person was arrested for arson in connection to the largest of the three fires, and that suspect is expected back in court tomorrow, but no word yet on the cause of the other two fires. Let's bring in Ryan Chandler, who's been following this from Spokane, Washington tonight. Ryan, the heat, it's starting to ramp up as crews were finally starting to gain some control. What are they going to do to stop the spread here?
Well, they have 1,400 firefighters all across this region working on 16-hour shifts, fighting this night and day, 24 hours a day. The key to success today, Gotti, the reason they've been able to make some modest progress is from the air. They finally regained some control of the skies against the own residents of Spokane or whoever's been coming to this county trying to take video, because drones have been a major issue for them. They had more than a dozen drone incursions on Monday alone, and they say that led them having to ground all of their aircraft, the super scoopers and the heavy water tankers that are key to fighting these fires from the sky, all had to be taken out to try and protect the lives of their own pilots and crew. So the main message to the residents here has been keep drones out of the air so that they can do their jobs. And that combined with some more fair weather today led them to get 13% containment on 2 of the fires, 5% on another one. That is slow but steady progress as we try to take advantage of the good weather today before the heat and worse weather comes heading into the weekend.
And Ryan, I know you've been talking to a lot of people out there. What are you hearing from people that are reacting to the fact that at least one of these fires, one of the biggest fires, was an arson or possibly an arson here?
Right, the most destructive one, investigators now believe, was started intentionally by human hands. And when you ask residents here for reaction to that, I mean, they are heartbroken, and piling on that is just anger and disbelief that all of this destruction could be intentional. I want to show you a little bit of the scene that we're looking at here. This is just a sliver of some of the destruction. And you see over here, this neighborhood was spared by only about 50 feet. But other than that, it is charred land as far as the eye can see. And in some neighborhoods that are blocked off by law enforcement, residents say it looks like the bomb just went off and leveled entire blocks. We spoke with one man about what it was like when he realized he needed to get out immediately. He lives in this neighborhood back here, and he hasn't been able to set eyes on his own home because of this evacuation order. Here's a little bit of what he told us.
He took a video of himself and video chatted with him standing in front of our home, seeing it there, and he was like, your block is fine, although everything else is gone. He said, it just looks like a freaking bomb blew up back there and everything's gone and just all ash. I don't know what to think of it. I still can't fathom, because I haven't seen it myself. So I still can't fathom all those places gone.
So many people like him are waiting desperately to try and get back into their own neighborhoods, but officials say tonight it will be, quote, many, many days before they allow people back into these evacuation zones because they fear that danger may come again if these fires spark back up.
Yeah, well, hopefully the weather cooperates. Ryan Chandler, thank you. And a neighborhood in Illinois was rocked by a deadly home explosion last night, and now investigators are working to try to figure out what happened. NBC's Maggie Vespa reports.
A deadly explosion in southern Illinois, tearing apart a home, catapulting pieces of it high into the air. The power of that blast, captured from multiple cameras nearby, absolutely decimating one house and damaging several others. It happened Tuesday evening in the small village of Energy.
House is gone all the way to the foundation.
I've never heard a sound like that in my entire life. Like, it was enormous, but it's like you could feel it in your body.
Cassandra Dan lives across the street.
When you walked out and saw your neighbor's home in pieces, what went through your mind?
Utter sadness. You knew that no one could survive that.
She immediately thought of her neighbor, 78-year-old Dave Turner. Authorities confirming today he did not survive.
He took a lot of pride in caring for his property and his neighbors, and it's very tragic.
The local sheriff telling me a second person was injured, adding the explosion appears to have been an accident.
We're investigating it from all aspects, but we do believe it's an accident, likely caused by a natural gas or propane type explosion.
Maggie Vespa, NBC News.
Maggie, thank you. And turning now to a disturbing live stream where social media personality Paris Hilton appeared to be hurting himself with a knife and was later hospitalized. Hilton made a name for himself in the early 2000s for covering celebrity gossip on his controversial blog. And last night he started streaming on TikTok. It looked like he was covered in blood while holding a knife, and fans, they called the police. Police responded. He was later taken to the hospital with his family, saying in a statement that he is alive and receiving medical care. Let's bring in Brian Balthazar for more on this. Brian, good to see you here. This was such a disturbing live stream. Unfortunately, reposted today. A lot of people have seen it, and they're missing like a lot of it. It seems like it's been spliced and it's edited. But do we know how any of this started?
You know, we don't have a fully verified account of exactly what he was saying and doing when the live stream started. It started around 6:51 p.m. Eastern time. And from most accounts, he was already in some sort of state of distress. And, you know, people generally come expecting some sort of celebrity gossip or some sort of tea, as they say. And so people were beginning to log on, immediately noticed something was wrong from his appearance and his demeanor, and began commenting in the thread, you know, pleading with him really to stop and to help him, asking for his number. How can they reach help for him? And that was then, TikTok was apparently aware of it within almost immediately, but it took about 15 minutes before that live stream was cut off, although some viewers say that it lasted a little bit longer.
Wow. I mean, he's such a constant figure online. Do we know if he was dealing with any mental health issues before this? Like, he posts pretty regularly, and he's known for kind of some of his very unhinged takes, right?
Yeah. I mean, he has spoken in interviews in the past about suffering from depression as well as suicidal thoughts. An interview with Maria Menounos back in 2013. He discussed frequent bouts of depression. He's been very open about that and talking about even when he's had a return to it. And of course, as I mentioned, he has said that he has had suicidal thoughts in the past. Recently, though, he suffered a medical incident in March where he had sepsis and was hospitalized. He claimed that he found God during that period, and he was kind of going on somewhat of a redemption exploration because, you know, as you know, he had very controversial posting behavior back in the early 2000s, which he's apologized for. He said now that he had found God, and that actually drove him to move to Miami from Las Vegas, and that he was trying to manifest good things and change into his world. He has 3 children by surrogate, and he was trying to start a fresher new life there. But to answer your question, you know, more briefly, yes, he has said in the past that he has struggled from depression and mental health issues.
And Brian, there's been so much talk about content moderation policies after the live streaming on TikTok and then the reposting in so many other places now. Do you think that this was taken down fast enough? And can you moderate something like this when it's happening live? Because, you know, as you report, like 15 minutes, it seems like a long time.
It's really difficult now because we have technology now that we can live stream instantly, right? But our response period in times of crisis has not been able to keep up. You can't keep up with live. And of course, medical personnel and authorities want to do some verification and make sure that they're responding to something credible. So I think this is a very real, very current problem that we haven't yet really figured out how to deal with. And of course, we're seeing it unfold in this as we speak. There's not even a delay on these live streams. They're built so that people can respond in real time online, but responding in real time on the scene remains a big, big challenge.
Yeah, Brian Balthazar, really appreciate you joining us. Thank you. And if you or anyone you know is in danger of harming themselves, there is help out there. Please call or text 988, or you can visit the website on your screen. And don't go anywhere. Coming up next, an explosion in a fire in an apartment complex in New York City turns deadly, rattles that community, what we're learning there. Plus, the work to get AI up and running requires all kinds of techs who are willing to get down and dirty. A look at the rise in demand for AI technicians later this hour. And also, if you see this QR code, feel free to just scan through. You can chat with us live. Let us know your thoughts. We're chatting right now, so come behind the scenes, streaming on YouTube, TikTok, Twitch.
Here.
Oh, sorry if you guys saw that stream. It was very disturbing.
C reverse, is that 90?
C reverse 90? Okay. All right, let's see. Yeah, unknown. I'm sorry that you saw it. Amy, good to see you. Don't make me put you in timeout. Oh, hi.
1 minute.
You guys don't even want to know what Hi said about our studio. Hi. West Coast is still the best coast, my guy. It's always cold in the 6. Hello. Good to see you. Hi thinks the New York studio. Thinks your studio is better than our studio. But he likes this. He likes to upgrade. The upgrade is great. Yeah, yeah. Lisa likes upgrade too. There she is. Hi, Lisa. When are we getting a feel-good story? We got a bunch of feel-good stories coming up. Maybe not right now, but in a little bit. So stay tuned.
5, 4, 3.
Hey, welcome back. Here are some other headlines we are watching tonight. In New York City, officials say one person is dead after an explosion in a fire at an apartment building in the Bronx. Witnesses say it sounded like a bomb went off and doors and windows were blown out. At least 15 people were hurt, including 6 firefighters. Now, the investigation into what caused the fire, exactly what happened, is still ongoing. And in Ukraine, at least 17 people are dead and dozens have been hurt after an overnight attack from Russia. President Volodymyr Zelensky saying today that Ukraine's depleted air defenses failed to stop the 2-hour barrage. And in London, police say 4 people were stabbed at the Covent Garden, which is a popular tourist spot. Police arrested a woman they say was having a mental health incident, and the 4 victims are expected to make a full recovery. And an out-of-control Tesla left quite the mess in a California neighborhood overnight. Police say a 22-year-old driver lost control, crashed into homes, smashed through a brick wall, and then into a garage door before finally coming to a stop. All the homes had people inside at the time, but no one was hurt. And earlier today, the Senate confirmed Dr. Erica Schwartz as the new director of the CDC. This makes her the organization's first permanent director in a year. Schwartz also previously served under Trump's first term as Deputy Surgeon General. Meanwhile, jalapenos could be wreaking havoc by spreading salmonella. After Chipotle pulled their peppers, Qdoba is doing the same after that outbreak has expanded to 27 states. NBC's Ann Thompson has the details.
The issue of tainted jalapenos is much bigger than just Minnesota and Chipotle. Tonight, the CDC saying 27 states now reporting salmonella cases related to the peppers. Minnesota, Colorado, and Illinois topping the list. More than 300 people sickened, 36 hospitalized. Now another fast food chain, Qdoba, says it proactively removed jalapenos from its restaurants, saying food safety is our highest priority. Yesterday, Chipotle did the same after Minnesota officials traced many of their salmonella cases to a lot of peppers used by the chain. Chipotle said it replaced the suspect jalapenos with ones from different growers. How do peppers get salmonella?
Typically through a variety of ways, but most likely contaminated water that it's used to irrigate or come into contact with that food.
Unlike the lettuce-linked cyclosporiasis triggered by a parasite, salmonella is a bacteria that causes fever, stomach cramps, and diarrhea. Symptoms most people develop within 8 to 72 hours of eating the bad food. These high-profile outbreaks involving 3 popular fast food chains, Taco Bell for the lettuce, Chipotle and Qdoba for the jalapenos, have some concern about our nation's food supply.
We have to remind ourselves that our food supply is fairly safe, but things happen, accidents happen, and contamination certainly can happen at any point in the food supply.
Ann Thompson, thank you. And coming up, New Mexico's Attorney General accusing the Justice Department of blocking their investigation into Epstein's Zorro Ranch in a new lawsuit. What the AG is telling our own Hallie Jackson. Coming up next.
Cobalt irradiation? What? Is that safe? Is that safe to do? I'm gonna have to look that up. Campbell Corn Lab. I should trust you because you have lab in the back of your name, so it's probably right. Cobalt irradiation. Isn't cobalt super expensive though? What else are you guys talking about? Keep kind. I like that. Hi. Steadicam operator who I sadly can't remember their name. That's Robbie.
Hi, guys.
Robbie is the man on the Ronin. Who is bringing El Sayed on an NBC show? I have questions. How can I share them? That's interesting. Wonder if... was he on... I know he was doing press conferences, but I don't know if he had any one-on-ones. No, Yvonne, that's the wrong one. This is NBC, but welcome. Yvonne from Cutler Bay, guess what? You have stumbled across the coolest news stream out there. The only news stream where we're doing the news show, and in the middle of the news show, in the middle of commercial breaks, we get to chat like this. And if you have questions about the news, we'll try to get them answered. And then in about 30 seconds, we're going to pop back over into doing the news. And it just happens throughout the whole entire show. You can let us know your thoughts, any questions. You can chat with our wonderful community, like SML, like Jacob, like Hi. And they'll keep you company. And then we'll chat on the next commercial break right after this. So check this out. That's Lisa, by the way. She's our boss. Holding down the fort at 30 Rock. 7 seconds. All right, back to the show, everybody. 3. Hey, welcome back. New Mexico is suing the DOJ, accusing the feds of stonewalling its criminal investigation into Jeffrey Epstein's Zorro Ranch. And a big part of the suit involves those redacted sections of the Epstein files that the New Mexico Attorney General says the department has not turned over. Hallie Jackson sat down with New Mexico's Attorney General earlier today, and take a listen to a little bit of their conversation.
What specifically do you need from the DOJ that they're not giving you? And why is it, you think, why are they not doing it in your view?
Well, Hallie, fundamentally, we need Todd Blanche and the United States Department of Justice to stop stonewalling this agency. It's been 173 days since we first asked for unredacted access to the complete Epstein files, and we still don't have that access, despite repeated assurances from Mr. Blanche, Jay Clayton, and others that they would cooperate with this investigation and help us move things forward so we could try and hold people accountable here in New Mexico.
Why is it so important for you to get access to these unredacted files?
Well, what we know now from looking at least some of the documents that are available through the Epstein Transparency Act is that Zorro Ranch is referenced more than 13,000 times. The problem is that many of those references are then obscured in terms of being redacted in whole or in part. What that means is that we can't clearly identify potential co-conspirators, witnesses, other evidence or leads that we could develop in terms of furthering our investigation. We have asked for the kind of cooperation that state and federal law enforcement officers and agencies have engaged in for decades. And for whatever reason, Todd Blanche and the Department of Justice simply refuses to cooperate with this ongoing criminal probe here in New Mexico.
And do you blame Todd Blanche for that?
You know, I think this is a collective responsibility at the Department of Justice. I mean, obviously, Mr. Blanche has been sort of at the center of making all of the key and critical decisions, including decisions that led to the mishandling of private and sensitive information related to Epstein survivors. He's certainly now, as the acting Attorney General, the person responsible and the person who could, frankly, before this day is out, could, with the stroke of a pen, grant us the access that we've been asking for, direct to the Southern District, direct the attorneys that work in his agency to comply with the request and give us this information. He still refuses to do that, and there is not any clear explanation that I have seen or legal justification for why they are refusing to cooperate.
Here's what the DOJ is saying, because they've sent us a statement now on your lawsuit today. I'm going to read it to you. They say that the Epstein Files Transparency Act does not require, and the protective orders in place in the Southern District of New York do not permit, disclosure of victim identifying information carte blanche. And they say that New Mexico, your state, has provided no lawful basis to justify such sweeping disclosures. No lawful basis is what they say, sir. They also say they're available to assist your investigation as consistent with the law. Your response?
Well, I think it's both hypocritical and cowardly for an agency that has evidenced no real commitment to respecting the privacy rights and interests or you know, the basic decency of the Epstein survivors to then hide behind Epstein survivors and use that as some sort of justification for not cooperating with the only active law enforcement investigation in the country. You know, I think if you asked Epstein survivors if they agree with Todd Blanche's decision to stonewall our request for access to this information, they wouldn't support that. As to, you know, what the legal justification is, we have provided them with ample legal justification and specifics related to our ongoing criminal investigation. They are simply coming up with excuses and procedural excuses to try and shield what is ultimately a policy decision that Todd Blanche has made because he has decided that he is unwilling to cooperate and support this ongoing investigation.
We spent some time in New Mexico. We spoke with members of the Truth Commission. They have an interim report out today, and what is a parallel investigation is authorized by the legislative branch in your state. They say that they have proposed that the commission and that you, the New Mexico DOJ, coordinate and collaborate when conducting interviews and depositions of victims, witnesses, and others. But they say that the commission and you have been unable to reach an agreement. Why is that?
Yeah, we've been engaged in a process with them for the last several months. We've sent them proposed MOUs. And we are waiting for their response to how we can coordinate, particularly engagement with survivors. One of the things that is of paramount interest for us and for our prosecutors is to be able to maintain the integrity of statements that are obtained from survivors, because we want to make sure that those are still viable statements that can be used potentially in a criminal case. We haven't been able to resolve that in terms of developing an MOU, but that's something that we continue to work through, and it's a process that we've been engaged in for quite some time.
And Gotti, I also asked Attorney General Torres if he would take this all the way to the Supreme Court if necessary, and he said it shouldn't come to that. They plan to use every available legal tool they have, but he described this as unusual. He says this kind of cooperation should be routine. Again, the DOJ says the state of New Mexico has provided no lawful basis to justify such sweeping disclosures, but that the DOJ remains available to help the state consistent with the law. Gotti?
Hallie Jackson, phenomenal reporting. Thank you so much. And coming up in the future of everything, a SpaceX rocket bites a whole lot of moon dust. We'll tell you all about the piece of a rocket that's been floating through space for a year that just crashed into the moon's surface and what scientists are taking away from that impact.
You guys hear that? That is the most fun story of the night coming up right now. SpaceX rocket versus the moon. It is going to be a good one. And then there is the man himself, Mike Massimino. Look at that. In the flesh. He is one of the coolest astronauts of all time. Let's see.
1 minute to the big wall.
1 minute to the big wall. Let's see. What are you guys talking about here? Interesting. We've seen that before. Sorry about that, wrong Earth, but don't worry. Life continues. You know what I would do? I would just play a lot of World of Warcraft, and then I would feel better. How come dust doesn't make a ring around the moon? That's a really good question, Peace Bucks. What's our time back?
20. Let's go full show here. 20 seconds. Okay. Actually, you guys are going to be in the dark for just a second here.
15.
15 seconds.
Walking back alive.
15 seconds to walking back to here or the wall?
Walking back to the desk.
Okay, got it.
3.
And tonight, in the race to space, have you heard about that SpaceX rocket that just slammed into the moon at like Mach 7? Well, yes, there has been today a lot of criticism about space junk and then managing trajectories and even like littering on the moon. And people can talk about all that stuff, but to me, the biggest impact of this impact goes way beyond all that stuff. This rocket smash might have just given us a free lesson on one of the biggest engineering problems that lunar base designers are going to have to deal with, and that is regolith ejecta, aka moon dust, all of this stuff that's sitting on the surface of the moon. Regolith is the stuff that we saw during Apollo. It's way nastier than Earth dust. It's sharper. It's electrostatically charged, so it's super clingy. And here's the kicker: because the moon has such weak gravity, when you kick up or you take off in like a massive rocket, you can kick up an insane amount of that stuff, which then can fly for miles, potentially mucking up all kinds of equipment. And that 8,000-pound rocket part that hit today, they think that might have kicked up dust up to like 60 miles high, 100 miles of a curtain wide. So what kind of impact would that have on some of our brand new lunar equipment that has been unveiled by NASA, like these first images of Blue Origin's lander? It's something that they have yet been designing specialized equipment to try to address. And we are lucky enough today to bring in former NASA astronaut Mike Massimino to talk a little bit more about this impact and about what else we're going to discover when we go back to the moon and all the problems that come with that. Let's start with this Falcon 9 crashing into the moon. It seems like scientists just got like a front row seat to what happens when something violently kicks up so much dust. How do you see that helping the moon base planning?
Well, it's a real opportunity, Gotti. The way you said, crashing things, you can think of it as is not necessarily a good thing. It's putting more litter on the moon. Let's for lack of a better word, but it's also an opportunity to study the moon itself and what can get kicked up. When things enter the moon, like when they enter the Earth atmosphere and we get hit with a micrometeorite comes into our atmosphere, the atmosphere protects us to a large extent, and that'll hit the atmosphere and burn up. There's no atmosphere on the moon, so that stuff comes straight in. Unfortunately, though, they haven't yet been able to analyze all the data or get a really good, clear view of what happened. They're still trying to analyze the images they were able to get. There is going to be a reconnaissance spacecraft. A reconnaissance spacecraft already passed over, a Korean spacecraft, but they still have to analyze that data. And then an American, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, is going to pass over the site in about 6 days. So maybe we'll get some more information. But as you said in your piece, it's a real opportunity to see how that stuff behaves. It's nasty stuff. There's no erosion on the moon. So we don't have like these smooth rocks because of the rain and water flow. You don't have that going on the moon. So a lot of these particles, these rocks can be dangerous. And to see how they behave when an impact comes will be a very interesting thing to look at.
It's so, for me, like the dune buggies and the skipping around, like when you see the parabolic arch of the falling, dust there, like it looks otherworldly. And yet that regolith, that's one of the things that they're going to have to possibly help build infrastructure there on the moon, if we can figure that out. Are we talking like massive landing pads? Are we talking like how do you address this when you have something as big as Starship potentially landing and taking off and kicking up massive amounts of dust?
Yeah, you see the dust in those images from the Apollo missions when they would land and when they would take off. You're kicking up dust, and when you leave, you're going to be kicking up dust. So that's certainly something they have to consider, especially when you're leaving stuff behind. I mean, the only thing they left behind some experiments and an American flag that kind of got beat up usually when they launched. You saw it wiggle because of the thrust of the spacecraft. But you're probably going to have to be far enough away from any habitat or anything that could be damaged by that stuff. As far as having a launch pad, that's an interesting idea. Can you have some sort of hard launch pad devoid of the dust so you don't kick that up? These are things you don't necessarily worry about here on Earth, of course, but that's going to be part of the problem of operating on the moon. A lot of questions that need to be figured out. It's all in these little details.
Yeah, the devil is in the details, and the details are, I mean, like lunar regolith is not exactly something that you'd think would throw a kink in a lot of this stuff, and yet it is something that a lot of smart people are dedicating some time to. Now, I do want to ask timeline. NASA says that the lunar landers are making good progress. We saw some great video yesterday. Do you think that we're still on track to go back to the moon in 2028?
Oh, I hope so. If you're talking about a landing in 2028, I really hope they can do that. But I don't necessarily think there's a big rush. We've waited for a long time already, so I think we just got to keep the momentum going. The next mission is going to be the checkout of the orbiters, of the lunar landers in orbit, in Earth orbit, and that's going to be Artemis 3. And then we'll hopefully have people on the moon, if all goes well, as you said, by 2028. But I'm okay if they delay it a little bit. They're going to get it right. I would suspect that actually might get delayed because there's always things that come up. You want to make sure you're going to do it correctly, particularly when the people's lives are involved. So I don't know. They're on track, and if it gets delayed a little bit, that's okay.
Says you, who's been to space so many times already. I'm getting old by the second here, Mike. You know, they got to hurry up so I can get up to the moon one of these days.
I got this gray hair, man. I ain't getting any younger either.
I can't.
We got to do it right.
I can't wait to be sitting next to you. We're going to the moon one of these days. Mike, always a pleasure seeing you. Thank you so very much.
I agree. Thanks for having me.
Meanwhile, back here on Earth, there is another absolutely massive infrastructure project that is happening in the background of our everyday lives. Tens of millions of miles of fiber optic cable is spreading across the country to connect more of us to more AI, more data centers. And as Brian Chung explains, it turns out that all that work comes with a shortage of humans. Watch.
It's checkup time for these telephone poles in Covington, Georgia, where technicians are rewiring the grid for an AI future.
This is new fiber.
In the truck, it looks like this. AT&T technician Matt Johnson pulling wires in and stripping, trimming, and splicing fiber optic cables capable of transmitting information at the speed of light.
And then the machine does all the work.
These wires will soon serve as the information highway in and out of a data center going up in town.
And this is going to connect data centers in the neighborhood?
This is going to connect everything. It's everything's connected now.
A lot faster than the old copper cables that his dad, who also worked for AT&T, used to lay down decades ago.
I joke around with him that, you know, I'm upgrading. I'm taking out everything that he put in and upgrading it.
The upgrade will need more workers like Matt, as well as his field team mounting fiber high above and down below.
So you're digging holes to put this cable in there too?
Yes.
Where neighborhoods are getting fiber too.
It's ready. These people are ready for fiber.
So now it's connected.
It's connected.
By some industry estimates, the U.S. will need an additional 66 million new miles of fiber by 2029 to accommodate the explosion of AI use. For providers like AT&T, it's not the fiber itself that's the limitation. It's finding the people to install it.
These are real human beings putting together the infrastructure for artificial intelligence.
Absolutely. You know, the cloud, the data centers, super important. But what you saw today is our fiber network expanding.
Todd Zeiler is the vice president of construction and engineering and says the company hired 10,000 technicians over the last 3 years, but is looking to hire 3,000 more by the end of the year.
How do you find those people?
It has been very difficult. We have to hyperscale our workforce as we hyperscale our fiber build plan.
A 2024 report estimates that the industry will need more than 58,000 workers to install fiber by 2032.
Prepare both sides of it.
It's not work that can be picked up overnight. Splicing is a technical job. The work trucks require commercial driver's licenses, and safety trainings are critical.
This is a job that AI can't really do.
No, you're not gonna get AI to do this. This is HI, human intelligence.
This is manual labor, though.
Manual
you
labor.
need people to go up there and put this infrastructure in place.
Yes, sir.
AT&T saying they're greasing the wheels on onboarding workers with no 4-year degree requirement and a 4 to 8 week crash course training program.
As people continue to order our fiber and deliver into homes and businesses at the pace in which they're building and ordering, we cannot hire fast enough. So you're going to see us continue to stay on top of our community colleges, our trade schools, our military partners, our referral fees.
States are getting on board too, with broadband access also increasing the general need for technicians. Texas established a workforce grant program in 2025, and this year New Mexico announced a plan to offer free certification classes across the state. In Georgia, the high demand means Johnson's busy at work.
I'm only one spoke in this big wheel, but yes, it just connects everything.
With an AI supercharge requiring the need for more human help.
Joining us now is Brian Chung. For more on this, Brian, great to see you. I love it when you get all like big picture meta on us. These days, connectivity, that is like as essential as water, power, then you've got internet. It's a utility. And when it comes to utilities, like, I know you're an economist, so this is always a weird place in capitalism, right? Like, how much of all this is private companies and how much of this is federally funded? And ultimately, like, is this going to make our bills cheaper?
Well, you know, I think what's so interesting about this particular story is that it's really everyone that has to rush to work together to try to find more bodies. That includes, as you mentioned, a lot of those large publicly traded corporations like Meta, which announced a, by the way, $6 billion partnership with CBRE. This is a firm, and they are working together to try to create some sort of upskilling program for workers to do this type of fiber optic work. This is all at the same time that you have Corning, which is a company that makes fiber optic cables. They're saying that they're putting training programs in place as well. That's on the private side. But on the public side, you heard about Texas, you heard about New Mexico. There are a number of other states that are trying to throw money at the question of trying to find the workers to do the work of installing the broadband network, which is something that cannot be done overnight. You see how physical that work there. And I just think it's really ironic, Gotti, that people are so, you know, they're talking about artificial intelligence replacing humans, but we need so many more humans to get that infrastructure in place. I just think it's a very interesting picture we find ourselves in.
Yeah, very ironic. And as you see, I mean, I'd like to see a robot do that type of shoveling maneuver that man is doing right there. I do want to ask, though, like, how does our fiber optic game compare to China's?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, when you talk about China, first off, they are a larger country at 1.3 billion people compared to just over 300,000 here in the United States. So for that reason, also because of the geographic size of them, they are putting in a lot of fiber cable as well. But I think the interesting aspect with the U.S. and China is the interlinking between them. You have to remember that we rely a lot on Chinese parts to put up our broad infrastructure here in the United States. And now there's actually chatter from a Reuters report that the Trump administration is drafting a ban on the U.S. imports of Chinese data center components that could include things that are related to fiber optic installation. If that does happen, and you imagine the retaliatory actions that China could take, could that cut the U.S. and China off from working together to build their fiber networks? I think that's going to be a very interesting political thread that we could be hearing a lot of in the next few weeks and months.
Yeah, that smells a lot like the telecommunications issues that we were having maybe 4 or 5 years ago with those cheap Chinese parts. Brian Chung, really appreciate you stopping by. Thanks so much. And still to come, a brand new road making a big difference for a small community in Alabama, how locals came together to get the job done. But first, you got to see this. There's this new little face making its debut at the Buffalo Zoo. It's a new Addix calf, and it was born on the 4th of July. That baby, it doesn't have a name yet. The gender is not confirmed either. But visitors can get a look at the calf during their next visit. Addix are a critically endangered species with about only 100 left in the wild, so that little calf is definitely a very big deal. We'll be right back. That's it.
On tape?
Yeah, I'm good. We made it through. We made it through. Thank you guys so much. Asta, great show. Thanks, Big Mike. Always cold in the 6. Good to see you. Wrong Earth. Sorry about the breakup. Things will get better. Promise. Asta.